One of the things we have to do is look at the players who want to, who are hungry for it.
Welcome back to Jump Hill Fun, and we're here to do the review of the Mount Pleasant versus Cavalier in their first match of the Caribbean Cup last night. So the game ended 2-0 in the favor of Cavaliers, but we do have 3 key takeaways from the match we would like to get through. So without wasting any time, let's get going. Point number 1, new actors, same movie. Of course, we got to start as usual with these type of matches is with the starting 11 for both teams. Leading up to this match, the big talk in the transfer market was the fact that Cavaliers lost 2 of their key players in Irving and Ming to Mount Pleasant on the eve of the match, but both players were not in the starting 11. But there were still debuts for the likes of Marshall, Nicholas Nelson, Ferreira and Anglin in that 11. They trotted out what on paper seemed like a 4-4-2, but when the game kicked off, it was clear that they were playing more of a 3-4-3. While Cavalier, on the other hand, they trotted out a 4-4-2 that saw the likes of Stein leading the front. The back four looked kind of unrecognizable, but they had Leng and King in the center pairing. But for all that money spending that Mount Pleasant made, they did have one clear weakness in their team that they didn't really sort out, and that's simply the lack of pace. They did have a lot of the ball as Cavalier allowed their midfielders take control of possession, but they simply had the ball for the sake of having the ball. They were having difficulties in breaking down that Cavalier back line, and they just never really seemed to have a clear idea what they were going to do with all that possession. It just simply seemed at points that they were just passing the ball around to each individual and hoping that they come up with a plan or some individual flair to break through. And then, as I stated before, they just seem to have some issue dealing with those long balls in behind. Again, they may have new players, many new players, but that back three is definitely the same old. And it's amazing to me that they seem that they're not used to how Cavalier play by now and simply seem unprepared for what they should do to contain the likes of Stein running in behind. So much so that it led to the first goal. Stein sneaked behind a sleeping Topi, and while he was trying to recover, he brought down the Swedish players in the box. Penalty, shout the referee, and from replay you could say that it was well deserved. Upset the youngster Ainsworth, who had no problem tucking away for give Cavalier a lead. After that, Cavalier had no problem to award Mount Pleasant more time and space on the ball as they dared them to break them down, and again Mount Pleasant looked void of ideas. Cavalier, on the other hand, had a clear plan what they wanted to do, and it worked to perfection again as they get the ball in behind again from a square and unleash Stein, who was able to this time tuck the ball away with a header to give Cavalier a 2-0 lead. Harold Thomas was probably fuming at this point, and he did not waste much time since after this to ring in a raft of changes. The likes of Petticoat, new Cameroonian forward, and Devontae Campbell enter the game all before the end of the half. Now, normally when you see a coach make so many changes so early in the game, it kind of signals that he simply got the lineup wrong. But honestly, it felt more that Mount Pleasant issues is just the same as last year, and they didn't get much better. Yes, they lack pace in the back line, but their build-up play just seemed to seem so slow, and it just allowed Cavalier such ample time to recover and close up any passing gaps. Mount Pleasant was also very slow in recovering the ball when they lose it. Again, another issue they had from last year. What was even more striking was the simple lack of urgency once they were 2-0 down. Even after the ring of changes, they were taking their wee time on the ball and not moving the ball quickly enough to try to get back into the game. Again, if your build-up is simply not working, try your best to go more direct at least, especially since he brought in a big unit of a Cameroonian forward up top. Ultimately, they did create some shots. A lot of them was from far distances. And 1 and 2 half chances came their way when they finally got behind the defense, but it just simply wasn't enough to beat Jadine White in goal. As for the individual performances, I thought Ferreira was by far the best player, especially in that first half. Devontae Campbell came in and showed that he probably should have started as he brought a bit of spark on that left wing. While Daniel Green seemed to have a bit of a hangover from last season, again this is the first match of the season, he was largely ineffective. Nelson himself was ineffective. Alex Marshall only looked threatening on set pieces, and Jamari Topi had a disaster class in the back line. But again, this is just the first game of the season, and there's hope when they play more and more games together and more time on the pitch, they will solidify their gelling. But for now, it was a disappointing display overall, and they simply look not up to the races. Point number 2, if it ain't broke. So Mount Pleasant seemed they were void of ideas, while Cavalier on the other hand seemed they had exact plan what they had to do and executed to almost perfection. Of course, it's not that hard since it's the same plan they trot out in the last 3 outings against Mount Pleasant. You know, to have that resting back 4 and then hit direct when they get the ball to their speedy forwards, and it worked a charm once more. The likes of Style, Covey and Smith did their job very well, but credit must also be given to that back 4 as well as Allen and Ainsworth in the middle of the park. They all played their roles as if they knew it on the back of their hand, and while they weren't necessarily the sharpest on the ball, their execution was simply quite effective. Again, they showed they don't need the ball to be dangerous against this more pleasant team. And finally, point number 3, speed masterclass. Alright, so there's been a running conversation that's been going on lately in the YouTube world where a lot of people were questioning the fact that, you know, Cavalier are dominating local football for a while now. They seem to dominate both senior and youth football. But the question remains, why are they unable to really produce any decent players on the international market? While I maintain that team greatness should be judged by the individual players they sell abroad, I do understand that it is a bit concerning, especially if you're a Jamaican national team fan, while the Jamaican national champions have yet to really produce a world-class talent. But you can also look on the flip side of this. While they may not be an exact special player, maybe Cavalier is simply a special team. I can even go one step further. Maybe in Jamaican context, Rudolph Speed is simply a special manager. Clearly, he's doing something right. Again, we spoke about Irving and Ming leaving the team right before this match, and yet if you look at that game, you could hardly miss them. It seemed that Cavalier simply functioned as if nothing had changed, and everybody played in a certain unison. My good friend Unseen normally said that Cavalier have a clear system, and while I won't definitely say the word system, but it's quite obvious that they have a clear identity. That never give up spirit and the view of to win no matter what is definitely indebted into the culture of this club. And that credit this has to go to Rudolph Speed. They may not play the most prettiest style of football, which they can do a touch of if they really wanted to, but their direct style have once again produced the results. And in football, the results is all that matters. So it's clear that what he's doing is working enough to get him to the top of the tree in Jamaica, and he's now just trying to best to try to elevate that to get it on the top of the Caribbean ladder. The team clearly wasn't at his fitness peak just yet, and they clearly wasn't the sharpest just yet, but they did all they could to get results. They ran out into a 2-0 lead despite having little possession, and then after that, they did all they could to break up the game in any shape or form, to slow down the game to their pace and control everything on their terms. You just have to applaud that dedication to get the win no matter what. All in all, in conclusion, the game again ended 2-0 in favor of Cavalier. Cavalier again didn't show anything different, honestly, which could be surprising since they lost so many players out of that starting 11. They already look like, they're on their way to be one of the better teams again this season. But I know the entire Jamaica will be talking about that much star-studded Mount Pleasant and what happened to them. Yes, they bought a lot of players and it will definitely take time for gel, but it was definitely an anticlimactic performance from them after all the big money spending in the offseason. But again, I won't be too critical on Harold Thomas or the Mount Pleasant troops. This is just early day one and they have plenty of time to get it right. They definitely have to work on the lack of pace in that back three if that's where they're going with. They definitely have to work on quickening up their build-up play going forward, and they definitely have to work on the fact that they definitely need to transition back to help out that back three much quicker. But as I said to you, they got time, so let us see what they do in their next Caribbean Cup match, this time against Arnett Gardens. But anyway, that's all the time I've heard in this small review of the game yesterday. Again, congratulations to Cavalier. They lead the group already with 3 points, and we will see the other members in the group take action, I think with Real Hope and Police playing on Thursday. And it will come into action next week against Mount Pleasant. Alright guys, that is it. As we look to keep you up to date on all things in the Caribbean Cup from the JPL teams, as well as any more off-season updates leading up to the new season. Otherwise, if you're looking for the best JPL content, you are already at the right place. JPL Fun. YouTube, pick up yourself.